So today I kind of wanted us to maybe talk a little bit about why we run. Um, and it's been something that I've been thinking about
Yeah.
a lot through the journey of us running, um, especially when people ask
Yeah.
questions. And sometimes I don't have an answer for them.
Yeah.
It's just, I just do it because I enjoy doing it. But primarily, before you get to the point of why you enjoy doing it, the question is, what is the fundamental reason why we actually run to you?
Right.
What do you think that is?
So if somebody asks me in the streets why we run,
Yeah.
that's a tough question.
Why is it a tough question if it's something that's so easy?
It is. I run for so many reasons. It depends on the day. So sometimes I run because I've had a stressful day. Initially, when I started running, is because I had to lose some weight, some baby weight. So I was motivated to start running.
Yeah.
And now I'm just running for fun. So
Okay.
it depends on what's going on. Sometimes I'm running for time, for a marathon number. Sometimes I'm running to compete.
Yeah.
But in a nutshell, I just run for fun.
So, for my definition of running previously, before doing it for um, like races and time and all that stuff, it's kind of weird to think about it that I feel like I'm doing it for time and races now.
Yeah, like when somebody asks you the same question you just asked me, what is your why? Why do you run?
Yeah.
What motivates you to keep going out there and deal with pollen, especially right now?
Originally, before taking it on as a hobby, it was something that you run when you're getting away from something or you're
Right.
trying to, like back in Nigeria, you're running to go catch a bus or ride a bus or you're running away from a dog. It's accelerated movement. That's normally what it
Excuse
was,
me.
bless you. And now it's more like we're doing it because that's, for me, I think it's more of a forced meditation.
Okay.
It is a way of clearing my head and putting myself in a state where I'm physically challenging myself. And I'm also processing thoughts more for mental clarity when that happens. So, and luckily for me, it's become a hobby now. It's something that I look forward to doing every day. And if I'm not doing it, on a particular day, it's because I'm just tired
Yeah.
or
Recovery.
I'm recovering. Yeah.
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 That's good.
It's very interesting.
Very interesting. Yeah, that's definitely a great question to ask anybody, to be honest, why they do something. And running is not easy. It's not an easy thing to do. So, how do
Well,
you love it so much?
should it not be easy?
What do you mean?
When you say running is not easy, shouldn't running be easy?
Like anything in life, it depends on what motivates you to do it. And I
Yeah.
think if you know your why, you define your situation based on your why. Some people find a 9 to 5 easy because they have to provide, and some could care less if they would rather do Uber because they just don't have that much responsibility.
Okay.
So just like running, I feel like it is a physical, it takes a lot of your physical body. It's like a full body workout. It takes a lot of energy. It is not easy physically. But then again, it depends on what you're running for. If it's for mental clarity and your brain is just that congested with things, it becomes easy. As you run, your brain clear some of your, whatever you said you carry, like for mental clarity, for recharge, for, relaxation, for enjoyment, for fun. For me, I run for fun. So the happiness I get from running makes running easy, makes running a place I go to get happy, right? Yeah. So it is easy in a sense that it brings me so much positivity,
Okay.
but it is a physical challenge. It is hard. It's a workout.
Yeah.
Takes calories out of your body. But yeah, why did you ask? This is a very interesting question.
Yeah, because when you said running is not easy, I started thinking about like when we were kids,
Yeah.
we run and it was something that was easy to do. And now that you become an adult, it now starts becoming something that's not easy for a lot of folks. Maybe they have like some sort of condition or,
Mm-hmm.
um, but for most adults that I've observed, it's just because we're like stuck sitting down
Yeah.
a lot. And as we grow older, I think the goal is for us to find comfort, and running is not comfortable. Maybe, yeah, that's how I see it.
Mm.
I If it's something that you don't do, it's not comfortable until you do it enough for it to become comfortable. So maybe it's the uncomfortability part of it that is not easy.
And you got all those kind of runs,
Yeah.
some run. That's why you have like an easy
Even for,
Monday.
yeah.
You got a threshold. Even with the like pro runners, I'm sure they get up in the morning and they're like, "Oh man, it's a VO2 max today."
Yeah.
That is probably not easy. But then
As
you
opposed to what we see on Instagram where it's like, yeah, it's VO2 max day, let's go for
gotta
it.
right, right.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
What
Hmm.
is your first memory of running when it became a hobby?
Hmm.
Like, um, I
Well,
enjoy
no.
doing this. Now it's a
Mm.
hobby, and like maybe not necessarily your first memory, but
Yeah.
your any any memory that you have where running is like, yeah, this is my thing now. I'm a runner
Runner.
girl
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah. Oh no. That's a great question, actually. So when did running became my hobby? Basically, that's the
Yeah.
question. I believe it's when I had Elon, and I was struggling with weight loss. I have been running in the past for fun, for just testing myself, for seeing how far I've gone. I've tried long distance in the past. I've tried fast, like running fast for 5K, but I was never consistent. I never went out to shop for specific shoes. I never looked for running outfit. But when
Yeah.
I believe it became a hobby for me is when all these things started matter, right? Like recovery, gel, shoes, outfit. It's like a whole package. Glass, running clubs. It's when I had Elon, and I was struggling with losing, weight.
Yeah.
And I tried by myself for a while. It just didn't work out. So I joined a local running group, club that we have here,
Okay.
and just having a certain mile count to complete every month, having a people like you're meeting up to run with every
Yeah.
weekend, it made me feel like I belonged in a club. And that was like a running club, and that's when I felt like I was a runner. That's the October, I would say, 2020,
About 2 years ago.
2022.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
What about
Um,
you?
Running didn't become a hobby for me for a while. I think we tried a couple of times
Mm-hmm.
in Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't quite work out well.
Mm-hmm.
North Carolina didn't quite work out well.
We're just not consistent.
Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
just never really saw it as something that I'm going to enjoy this until when I cracked my bike frame.
Oh
And
my
it
God,
took
I completely forgot about that.
6 months
Yeah.
for me to get a new bike frame.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd already gotten accustomed to
Riding.
just exercising,
Mm-hmm.
being on the trail, and I wanted to get back on the trail. So the easiest thing for me to do is just get a pair of shoes and go for a run. And even when that started, it didn't register as a hobby for me because I was, um, I was struggling with the effects of running.
Uh-huh.
It took me a while. I wasn't conditioned.
What do you mean
I
by that?
was
Elaborate a little bit more if you
So
don't
when I
mind.
say struggling, like being able to set a particular distance
Mm-hmm.
in mind and actually achieve that distance, because I would try to run fast and then run slower, and then I was fluctuating my pace. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really know how to kind of stay in the zone. Sometimes I would say I want to go out for 5 miles, and then I'll get out there, and it's like
Oh my
I only
God.
got 1 mile in me, and I'm back.
Mm.
And when you get back, sometimes it's like, oh man, I kind of screwed up because I was gonna go out for 5, and things like that. When it happens with a hobby that you're not used to, it makes it not feel very enjoyable.
Yeah.
But I would say when it finally clicked for me was the hot chocolate run that we did.
When was
Um,
that?
our first 5K, I think it was a couple of years ago.
Was it that Thanksgiving
And
that we bought vapor flies?
yeah, that's when we got the alpha flies
Alpha
for that
fly.
particular race.
Okay.
And when we did that, after completing that 5K, I was like, okay, this is what it feels. It was completely different for me. And I think it was at that point that I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna start really, really running.
What was it
And then
about the race that made you feel like this is my hobby now? Was it the
I don't
feeling
even
that
think
you
we
had?
trained for it
No,
properly.
we didn't.
It was the energy that you get from everybody
Yeah.
getting out there and going for the same goal that you're going for.
Mm-hmm.
And you see so many different folks, young, older, different shapes and sizes, and you're just like, it's beautiful. So
It's a great energy
I
to be
think that
around.
whole experience
Yeah.
kind of was the gateway for me to really dive into running. Like after that 5K, I was like,
I mean,
where's the 10K? Where's the half marathon? Where's the marathon?
yeah.
So yeah, that event actually opened the door for me. Now that you've been running for a period of time, what does running give you that nothing else does?
Oh, it gives me freedom, freedom of speech in my own head, freedom of mind.
Okay.
It's free. I don't have to pay for running. Um, it gives
Are you
me.
sure you don't have to pay for running?
I mean, the the races, but I don't have to always pay to run. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
can leave my house right now. I don't need to have a car. I can step out of my driveway and start running. That's what I love about running. That's what running gives me that a gym can't give me because I have to drive to the gym. I have to have a membership, and I probably have to have some sort of like equipment in the house to do strength training. Running is like a definition of freedom, and I've used this word all the time whenever you ask me what running gives me that anything else doesn't give me.
Yeah.
Sense of freedom that I feel I can, as soon as I start running, I can just run and I never stop. And the feeling I get from running is I've never experienced that anywhere else. Um,
With any other sports or
with any
activity?
other sport, I don't think I've ever experienced that happy, bubbly, and the brain stopped thinking completely. And that point when the brain stopped thinking about work, about family, about children, about household, responsibility, that's when the real self begins. Like there's a level of selfishness to it too. It gives you a moment alone without fear of what's going on in the world. And there's a lot of things that gives me anxiety in the world that we're currently living in. So running gives me peace and freedom and happiness and just the wind crashing.
That's interesting. Like I can kind of relate with the peace part of it.
Yeah, it's
It's
quiet in my brain.
when I started running, I think I kind of saw it as running away from my problems.
Yeah,
and
you did use that.
but I always come back to my problems.
And for you, I guess
So
this situation is very differently.
it
Maybe I
is.
can ask the
It is.
same question, but in a comparison to bike, why
Yeah.
would you say?
So I was actually going to touch on that
Yeah.
briefly. Like cycling gives me a lot of different things that running also gives me.
Okay.
But I enjoy running because it gives me a way to connect with you because we spend a lot of time running together.
Yeah.
And it also gave me a way to define what I want our family values to be. we're very active people. We have a lot of energy, and by virtue of just how we are, running gives me that bond with you that I don't get from other physical activity. I've tried to convert you into cycling, but that hasn't quite worked out well.
Somebody's
And
clumsy, but hey, we'll see. We'll
and
still have a lot of time
yeah,
left in this world.
yes,
Yeah.
and so I would definitely highlight it as running gives me peace. It also gives me a very good period of time to connect with you. We're going through the same struggle. Like, not that we're not struggling, going through the same struggle in life in general, but it's like structured struggle. We set a goal for ourselves and then we both achieve that goal, and we kind of see ourselves go through this phase of
Body
it's a little bit
metrics.
hot. My heart rate is not getting up where it's supposed to be.
Right.
And, once we get past those first couple of miles and then we dial in, then it's like, oh, this is the good part. And then, you're screaming, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just trying to conserve my energy. And going through that whole journey and then coming back home to deal with the daily, our day to day, it feels like we've gone to like communicate via action and challenge. And now we're back at home with a better version of ourselves to take on
We're always happier
activities. Yeah.
running together. And to add to that, connectivity.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry. Just to add to that, connectivity is important. And that's the part I didn't add to, what running gives us that any other strength, workout doesn't give us. I can't really cycle, as you said. I love the moment when we are running together. Yes. And we're not saying anything, but we're saying a lot. Exactly. And you just lift your hand and your fist bump me, and yes. I already know what you're saying, but we're not speaking. It's like a non-verbal communication that's like it brings us so much closer, and I feel so connected to you when we're out there in torture together.
Exactly. That fist bump.
That fist bump is everything.
It is so good. And I think we're going to actually have
a fist bump.
The originator of the fist bump talk about why they do that while they're running.
Yeah.
And
oh yeah.
I don't even think they understand how much it means to us when we do that.
I think when they started it was like, maybe it was a thing for them. Yeah. Let's not mention them who they are.
Correct.
But since then, because it was the first time that we were all going through, me and you, through that challenge, him starting that fist bump, I carried that through like, it's okay. I know you're in pain. I'm still in pain with you.
We're
gonna
shared pain.
Get through it. And that's what it communicates to me every time you give it to me.
Absolutely.
Like, that a lot. I like that a lot.
Have you, I'm kind of curious about going through emotional seasons. Have you dealt with any, how has running helped you through any emotional seasons that you've been going through?
Man, running has saved me. Running has saved my life. So starting why I started running, how running helped me emotionally was I felt like I was in a funk. I didn't feel good about myself. I didn't feel good about anything else. And I had this new baby that I absolutely love, but I wasn't happy inside. And whenever I went for a run and I came back home, I just felt fulfilled. And I don't know what that is. And I don't know if, I'm sure there's a chemistry or a biology explanation out there, but I can't really put words in. I can't really explain it in words, like how that made me feel. But I know it's something that I left the house with an open cup, an empty cup, and I came back in the house, my cup was full. That is when I was going through postpartum depression. But also every time when I go through like a tough time at work, going outside for a run just always brings me so much joy and just reminds me that difficult things can also be, they're important for us in life. Running is not easy, as I said, it's not an easy thing, but at the same time, You can experience joy through difficult moments. So it just grounds me. It reminds me this is part of life. Just like running at work is not always going to be peaches and roses.
Yes.
Sometimes it's going to be tough. You're just going to have to keep the heart rate at the same zone, and you just have to build your endurance to go through the storm, because at the end of the day, there's a finish line ahead and you're going to get your medal. And that's how I look at things. Sometimes it like running helps me define some situations. What about you?
Yeah, I would say from an emotional perspective, I think doing my runs before I actually take up my day helps bring out a lot of energy to go into that day. And whenever I do feel like a clutter, I think I understand it more from a brain clutter perspective, where it's like, yeah, my brain is in scrambled eggs and I can't focus. Um, my thoughts are running wild. When I do go for a run, it helps me think clearer. It helps me shift my focus from 1 million different things into one particular thing. And then when I go about my day, I'm able to now focus on one particular thing. So maybe that's what is really going on fundamentally for me whenever I go for a run.
Yeah.
Also, for going back to the emotional aspect of it, when I do feel a little bit angry, or when I feel upset, or when I'm super excited, I realize that going for a run helps me balance those different emotions. It brings it back into, hey, I know you're excited about this. It's great to be excited, and brings me back to my base. It also, for anger, it helps, hey, you're a little bit angry. Let's bring you back to your base. Let's release that emotion through this physical activity that we're doing, so you can come back to your base and take on life. Because it's one thing, I see it as, it's one thing to be, oh yes, I'm very happy, I'm going to use this energy to go 1,000%. But there's no guarantee that you're going to have that happy feeling every day.
Facts.
And what if you don't have that happy feeling for a month?
Yeah.
How are you going to deal with things? Or what if you have that angry feeling for a month? What is the downstream impact of carrying this energy that is not your base, that you understand, for a period of time? And running helps me bring all my different emotions back to that baseline. And I'm very comfortable when I'm at that baseline taking on anything else, because that baseline gives me clarity. It makes me pay attention. It's not based off of, it's not biased on what I'm currently feeling at the moment. Have you ever used running as an excuse to get away from something?
Damn. That is a great question. Have I used running as an excuse to get away from something?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes. Honestly, sometimes I come back from work, right?
Yes.
I'm so tired, and I know I gotta wake up and take care of the baby and do all the week, like the run around during the week, during the weekend. And I just feel like, man, if I just can be selfishly go for a run by myself, it'll be nice. Yeah, so I've used running to get out of the house sometimes when I need to. Like, I know my body needs it, but the household probably needs me more. And so I just have to be like, guys, I absolutely need to go for a run. I don't know if that's like an excuse, but coming out of the house for sure.
How important are those solo runs that you do versus group runs where it's a lot of folks? And when do you feel like you absolutely need to do a solo run versus, oh, I'm going to run with someone? Yes.
I honestly, personally, I feel like I just need one group run in a week. I can't do group runs a lot.
Why?
I'm charging my body at the same time I'm using the battery, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So you're driving the car while it's plugged on. That's kind of like how I would define it.
Okay.
I'm using my battery as I'm charging it, and I enjoy charging it sometimes while I use it because some other people may need a little bit of my battery. So it's good. Or I need to let go of that battery, like you said. I need to let go of the energy with the group sometimes, especially when I run with the girls. Or when I run with you, there's a level of peace that I have. So I don't count you as a group.
Okay.
But when I run, let's say with our running group, sometimes I just need it. Not it's not a running purpose. It's not for the run per se. It's for the socialization of it all. So I like the socialization.
Yes.
But socialization does not just charge you. You charge yourself, but you are also charging other people since it's a group, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
You leave there, you're not going to be 100%. You're probably going to be, you went there maybe 45, you charge up to 80, you had to give 25 to somebody else. So you go back home with 55. Is it a plus? It is. By how much? It's 5.
Hmm.
So it's good.
I've never looked at it that way.
It's important.
I think you brought a completely different
analogy
perspective into this.
But I enjoy running alone.
I do see value in group runs, and
Yeah.
I think I see the most value in my solo
Same.
runs. Actually, no, I'll take that back. I see the most value in my solo bike versus solo runs, because I think I'm still adapting into really enjoying running.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I am enjoying running a lot,
Yeah.
but cycling is just very different for me.
You love cycling.
I think cycling is a little bit, I'm more biased towards cycling.
Yeah.
So my long runs, my long solo runs are very enjoyable for me because I was training for a marathon.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be able to go through this process without someone else either adding or removing from that process.
Mm-hmm.
Because I kind of wanted to understand myself. There's a level of understanding what I'm made of that's kind of going on. So that's why sometimes I would just go straight into solo long runs, or maybe just tag one person along, and it's like I'm only giving back and receiving
Taking.
from one particular person.
Yeah.
The group runs, I enjoy the group runs because then
Yeah.
that's where it's like, oh yes, I just want to
Sharing.
catch up.
Yeah.
We chat a little bit about our pace. We talk about
Social.
what's going on in life, and it also kind of goes back to when you hang out with your friends and I hang out with my friends, and
Mm-hmm.
most of the times we're not hanging out with people all the time. We're dealing with our day to day.
Yeah.
But every now and then you go out there and you're like, hey, let's have like a nice little social encounter.
Yeah.
And then there's some short runs that it's just kind of like, I don't want to talk to anyone. It's all gas. My brain is not thinking. I think those particular runs, especially the sprint and threshold runs, are the ones that are a little bit hot.
So
I would say very, very hot, because it's like I have a particular goal that I'm trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And even my body is like, dude, chill.
Yeah.
But my brain is like,
Let's
I got to
go.
get the stats. And I would low-key say sometimes, do it for Strava. I do it just so that somebody goes on Strava and they're like, yes, Dapo did something, so now I have to do something. Like I said, it's all a journey. There's a selfish aspect to it. There's a development aspect to it, and also a community aspect to it. And I think finding that balance between all three makes meaning for what we do. Because I mean, we've been discussing why we run, and so many different things go into the actual process. But when we look at it, step back and look at it from another perspective, we can kind of see all these different combinations of runs that we do really define why we run. And I think that's powerful.
And define life in general. Honestly,
exactly. What is life if you're not running?
Life is like running. They go hand in hand. Life sometimes is like so smooth. It just
Absolutely.
goes like You go on this like hibernation mode or cruise control. You're just going through same speed, 100 miles, and you hit a puddle and you gotta change your tire. And now you're inside the bush and it's snowing and it's raining. It's running. You
Yeah.
got all those different varieties of running for a reason.
Have you ever thought about quitting?
What? Quitting what? I guess
Have you ever
this
thought
could
about,
be the intro.
I'm not running again?
Absolutely never.
Never? It
Never.
never crossed your...
Listen, one thing I never thought about stop doing in my entire life. I've thought about stop doing a lot of stuff.
You stopped doing CrossFit.
I don't miss it.
You stopped cycling.
I don't miss it. I am sorry.
So
it's
you've
breaking your
never
heart.
thought about
Never thought about stop
not running.
Actually, running, I think, is my passion.
Okay.
And I'm never probably going to be one of those like pro runner. I'm probably never going to be like breaking records. And I'm not trying to, but I'm never going to stop. It is just something that
You want to do it for your lifetime.
just gives me joy. Like, why would I want to stop something that gives me joy? Why would I want to stop something that makes me feel the best?
I can give you a few reasons.
Give me
Training
some
for a
reasons.
marathon will make you want to feel like...
Now that's why we
you
don't do that
wanna
every.
quit.
That's why we don't do that every
And
quarter. You do that once
Okay.
a quarter in a year, and that's enough for me. One training for
once a
mar-
quarter, so you want to run 4 marathons?
No, just one time
Okay.
in one quarter in the entire year.
Entire year.
is when I'm
So
training
one
for-
marathon per year.
So that's when I'm stressing for those 3 months of a year.
You got to pump up your marathon numbers. Up.
Listen, I'm not
Just
craving
one-
for miles like that. I'm satisfied with 5. 5 a day is enough.
I will be honest. I've actually thought about quitting running
You have mentioned.
while
Why?
running.
Why?
It's very challenging. The 18-mile point of the marathon is very, very challenging. Things wake up that you didn't expect.
True.
And that's why there's a lot of people that tell you, hey, you need to pace yourself. You need to watch out for mile 18 because you never know what's coming.
Yeah.
And I think the first marathon that we ran together, mile 18, was where I was like, yeah, why am I
Something
doing
is
this?
breaking.
I can just go right back into cycling and tell folks, running is overrated.
Yeah.
Save my knees. You know,
Mhm.
cycling is, I wouldn't say easier, but it's
You enjoy it.
easy on your joints. It's easy and easy. You
It's quite challenging for
it's
me.
easier.
That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Because everybody would say what they love the most is
Correct.
enjoyable.
Yeah.
From this conversation, I can already sense and hear cycling is your joy.
Yes.
Running is your second joy, but it's still always going to be your second joy.
Yeah.
The quicker you've recognized that, and I think you already know,
Yes.
the easier you would take it for yourself when it comes to running.
Absolutely.
Because we're like, I can quit it. I have
that's
other
why-
hobbies.
And that's why I wanted to kind of, share a little bit about
Yeah.
the little.
See, I only have a.
What if I don't run anymore?
You
And then I call one of my run buddies, and it's like, oh crap, he's going for a run. And then I go for a run again, and I'm right back into it. I think when we step out of our comfort zone with something that's like we naturally enjoy doing, and it now starts becoming very uncomfortable, it can kind of, doubt can kind of creep in, especially
Sure.
for something. But right after you complete that race, at the end, that thought of quitting running disappears.
Yeah, for the marathon, and
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. So we are always in the same different like wavelength when it comes to brain thoughts.
Yes.
At mile 18, you say that's when your body feels like, why am I doing this? I could be riding 100 miles. It wouldn't feel like this. For me, I've died at mile 45 as I'm riding. But when I get there as we run, because
Yeah.
I have such a love for running, my body tells me, girl, you cannot do this. It is a lot. You are tired. You are hungry. You're not going to finish. And my mind just snaps and be like, girl, this is our happy place.
So you have a fear of DNF.
No, I don't.
No, you don't. You don't have a
Because I
fear.
never processed that
Oh, you
far.
never processed DNF?
Never.
Wow.
It's never gonna happen.
I have thought about DNF before. I've been like, well, here goes my
Right.
first DNF.
Here goes my
I'm
mind.
out.
I mean, God, I would feel so. I would be so sad. Like,
Crushed.
you know,
It's okay.
it's
It's
so.
life.
It's not like you, after training. You know, marathon. You train for 18, 16 good weeks
Yeah.
just to not finish. I understand why people cry when they don't finish.
Mm,
They weep so badly. You can see the heart broken. I don't want to go through that. I
okay.
want to go through my challenge training time and get a medal at the end.
Yeah.
What's the point?
I get it because it's like a curated event. It's
Yeah.
race day, you know.
Imagine they're carrying you
But
out
the funny
with the
thing
ambulance.
is, when we really think about like DNF, we probably DNF a lot during the training session.
Oh yeah.
I think
Oh
just
yeah.
the
Oh yeah.
there's so many times
Many
where
times we're like,
oh,
why are we
yeah,
doing this? Let's
it's a
go.
20, especially that 20-mile run we did on the treadmill.
Yeah.
Oh, that was brutal.
Oh, that was brutal.
It was actually supposed to be 22 miles.
We quit at 20.
Yeah, we had to stop at 20.
Yeah, we couldn't do it.
It was a lot.
We motivated each other so much.
It was a
we
lot.
ran out of motivation.
Yeah. The treadmill stopping every hour, and then you having to just get off and
Yeah.
stretch a little
Use
bit,
the
and then they went
restroom.
back to it.
Oh no. Yeah.
And it was in Planet Fitness. Shout out to Planet Fitness.
Hey.
The fans were not
It was
strong
so
enough.
hot.
It felt really hot.
Those lights,
Yeah.
like right under
The lights
you.
are right
oh my
under
God.
the light.
No.
You're over there taking a gel on a treadmill just to keep this going.
You look like a
Eating-
psychopath.
I was eating the crackers.
You were eating a banana and everything.
But it was
The
so
treadmill
much.
was covered with food.
I think those experiences sometimes make the doubt creep in. But I would say that my affinity for running has solidified a lot more now that I've spent more time. I think this is my third year going.
Yeah, can you believe
Really
it?
enjoying this.
Since we
Going
had you,
from-
a lot of things have changed.
I can't breathe. I'm cutting this out in the first. Can't run a mile to. I signed up for 2026 Publix Marathon.
Crazy.
I signed up for California International Marathon, and so something I'm looking forward to. So yeah, it's now part of my yearly goals, which is now part of our family values.
Yeah, mine too.
Yep.
We have a little runner too coming in 2026.
Is there anything that you do that is a weird thing before you start running that you consider weird?
I'm pretty, I use the bathroom right
Yeah.
after, before you would tell me like, baby, use the bathroom before we go. Use the bathroom in the house. And the
Yeah.
moment we step out of the house, that's when I want to use the bathroom. I think that's the only weird part that like I always do.
Yeah.
That's kind of like, I know you're ready to go and I'm like, sorry, gotta go to the bathroom now. When you are like at the start line, like,
Yeah.
let's go. We only got like 1 hour and a half. Let's run. I'm like, I need about 20 out of that 1 hour and 30 to use the restroom. But
do you think you're
besides
ever
that,
going to
no.
get to a place where you don't have to use the bathroom right before a run?
Sometimes I think it's just easier to accept who you are than to fight it.
So who you are is using the bathrooms
At
right
this point, I've kind of like earned
you
it.
just accepted it.
I've accepted it in a point. I mean, do you remember our first marathon? We pretended that we were not going to stop using the bathroom.
Yeah.
4 miles in, we had to use the restroom.
Yeah.
That's why that marathon was long, because we had to stop. And those timers, they don't really care if you stop to use the bathroom.
Yeah.
They keep on your time.
Yeah.
And the second marathon, I had to use the bathroom before we left the parking spot. I'm kind of the bathroom girl before we start running. So
Okay. So your weird thing is
that's my cock. Like, that's my weird thing. Before running, I gotta use the restroom.
okay.
What about you?
I don't think I have anything weird
Ha.
in general that I've observed.
I have one.
I when I'm about to run,
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm more of like a, how do I explain
That
it?
is what I wanted to say,
My
actually.
brain is like, what have you learned from YouTube and every other professional runner that's out there?
Oh.
And channel it.
Oh.
Maybe that is the weird thing. because
Okay.
it's like I step into it like there's sometimes before I run,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like visualizing, oh, this is how Kipchoge was pointing at the end of
Like sides to sides.
the marathon where he
Like
broke
Guinness record.
yeah, the Guinness
Mm.
record marathon where he broke 2 hours,
Mm-hmm.
and like I'm picturing that kind of energy before I go as I'm talking to people or as I'm doing my warm up. That's but I don't think that's necessarily a weird thing. It's just something that
No.
I've observed myself doing. Um, if I'm going for a run that's very challenging, I keep quiet.
That is what I wanted to say. That
I'm
you
like,
do not want to
oh,
speak.
everybody's over there like talking, using
Excited.
all their energy. Oh yes, I'm happy,
You're
and
like,
I'm like, this. I'm conserving my energy for whatever is about to happen because I'm a little bit nervous about the run, especially. I think it's race day jitters.
it is rest day
Um,
jitters. Then they're real for you.
they are real for me, but when I take ketone IQ, oh man,
You
it's like let's
you
go.
become jittery. Now you're
Yeah.
ready to go to just take off out of where's the start line? I'm ready to
Exactly.
go.
I'm like, why are we still talking?
Let's do
Let's
this.
get this thing started. So next time, before race day, well, before actually kicking off the run, I'll probably do like a half a mile or um, just
I wanna
a
do the
quarter of a
10
mile.
miler because I remember
Yeah.
how excited you were to start that run that night. And it was
The
perfect
PNC
weather.
10 miler.
What is running to us? Because I think you said why we run for you and why what is running for me.
Yeah.
And you said this is something that we share with some of our friends
Yeah.
sometimes. What is that to us? And you mentioned a couple of times it's one of our values, but like what
Yes.
if you had to redefine running or define running to our in our relationship, in our
Yeah.
household, our family, what is that to us?
Running is our way of reflecting, reconnecting, and recharging.
Yes.
I think those three things are crucial for us as a couple. And whenever we ref- whenever we run, we reflect on the week sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we're blasting music
Mm-hmm.
through our headphones, it's like those thoughts still come through.
Mm-hmm.
You reflect on you how traveling, how that worked out.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe your hotel stay,
Mm-hmm.
maybe hopping on the plane. You're reflecting on that. You're
Mm-hmm.
reflecting on how productive you were at work, or how things didn't necessarily go the way as planned at work.
Mm-hmm.
You're reflecting on how you are as a mother, how you
Yes.
are as a wife. Those
Yes.
kind of thoughts, they come through your mind. Um, and you're reconnecting. You're reconnecting with me through like a shared experience,
Mm-hmm.
and you're also reconnecting with some of your friends
Mm-hmm.
that you haven't seen in a while, and it's very very interesting to see one particular activity that brings you to these different outcomes.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why I saw it as a very good family value for us,
Mm-hmm.
because this one activity achieves so many different things that we need in this day and age.
And fills our
Yeah.
bucket. Yeah,
What
that's
about you?
well said. Actually, you just that was so deep. I don't think I have more to add. Definitely refocused.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about our family stuff. Sometimes with those little runs, we get to chat. We chat about where we are with family dynamics. We check in. Um, so that's like rebalancing our energy. Where are we in our relationship? Are you stressed at work? So I know, and how I step throughout the day or a week with you, and how I organize the household
Yeah.
to make you feel more comfortable and just keep the peace. So yeah, definitely enjoy that a lot.